Hello to everybody who's joining us today from all over Australia and New Zealand and anywhere else. If you're from somewhere else, please let us know in the chat where you're joining us from today as well. That would be just lovely. Thank you so much for taking the time for joining us today to talk about project-based WIL. This is such an interesting topic and certainly a mode of WIL that has been emerging in the last few months more so than ever before. So I'm really pumped to bring you all together today and really get into some cool discussions around this topic. I'd love to begin by acknowledging the beautiful country that we're on and that you are all sitting on at this time. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands, wherever you may be, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. My name is Dr. Bonnie Dean, and I'm from the University of Wollongong, and I sit on the ACEN Board of Directors. This is the ACEN Critical Conversation. So for those of you who've been with us this year, you'll understand the mode and format. For those of you just joined us for the first time, you are so welcome here. You're welcome to chat and share your insights and voice when you enter into those discipline breakout rooms. It's my pleasure to introduce you to 7 facilitators today, and they are from the ACEN Board of Directors and the ACEN state chapters. And I'll just get our facilitators to give us a bit of a wave once I introduce you as well. And so we have Erin Stacey from University of Canberra, Kate Clifford from University of Queensland, Barbara Walsh from University of Canberra, Michelle Eadie from University of Wollongong, Teresa Winchester-Seto from Winchester-Seto Consulting and University of New South Wales, Faith Valencia Forrester from Griffith University, and Judy Kay from RMIT. Thank you so much. So what we'll do is we'll hear a bit of a presentation first, and then when we're pardon me, in those breakout rooms, one of these facilitators will be in there prompting you through some questions. Let's do some really brief housekeeping. First thing I would love everyone to do is give us a bit of a wave. Can everyone just turn their cameras on and give us a wave? Would you like to unmute yourselves and say hello or good morning or good afternoon or anything like that? Off you go. Say hello.
G'day.
Hello, everybody.
Morning.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
everybody.
Hi, guys.
Nice to see lots of faces.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for saying hello, and you are very, very welcome here. Okay, just some brief housekeeping. If you have any technical difficulties, please log off and then log back into the same link. If that doesn't work, then hang around your email and I'll provide some further instructions. When our presentation starts, I will get everybody to turn their videos off and keep yourself on mute, just to save some bandwidth while our presenter speaks and does her presentation. The presentation itself will be recorded, and the breakout rooms, some notes will be taken by our facilitators, and the recording of the presentation and the breakout room notes will be circulated and placed on the ACEN website after today's session as well. Before we go too much further, I would love to do a promo now, and this promo is for the ACEN Virtual Summit, which is coming up on the 27th and the 28th of October, and I'll just share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about there. This is a really exciting virtual summit. Of course, it's something different, and so many conferences are moving to this virtual space for 2020. We have a keynote speaker, Dr. Nora McRae, and she's the Associate Provost of Cooperative and Experiential Education at the University of Waterloo. There's over 40 sessions. There is such an awesome program that has been put together by the ACEN conference team, so please check out that program. There's showcases and interactive round tables, refereed paper presentations, but there's also going to be plenty of opportunity for networking and socializing as well. If your institution or if you are an ACEN member, then it is free for you. And if you are not an ACEN member, then there is a modest fee as well. And all those details can be found on the ACEN website as well, which I'm showing you right here. And I'll make sure that that gets put in the chat as well. So please, I can't wait to see you there and keep our conversations going. Okay, let's get back to the main event. The topic today is project-based WIL, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to Ingrid Larkin. Ingrid is the Associate Director of Work Integrated Learning at QUT Business School. And Ingrid has been working with the project-based WIL model for some time now, and we've invited her along so she can share some of her experiences and learnings along the way as well. So without further ado, I'll get everyone to turn your cameras off and keep yourself on mute. Ingrid, I'll hand over to you now to share your screen and take us through some of your insights on project-based WIL, please.
Fabulous. Thanks, Bonnie. I will just get my screen happening. And I'm setting my timer because Bonnie set me the time limit, which those who know me, I'm not great at it, so I've got my little timer. So today I'm going to talk about project-based work integrated learning. The topic set was around platforms, practices and pedagogies. And in keeping with that alliteration, I've really added pointers as well, because when Bonnie and I talked about the presentation, I want to give you a snapshot of some of the things that I've been doing for a number of years, some new things that we're doing, but give you some takeaway pointers and tips of things that I've learnt through my experiences. Thank you, Bonnie, for acknowledging country. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm here on Turrbal country at the beautiful QUT Gardens Point campus on the river, and I'll acknowledge the role of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in the QUT community. So I've actually flipped around the order of content. I want to just touch on some of the pedagogies that inform what I've been doing in work integrated learning. These are all things that you'll probably all be familiar with, but I did want to just acknowledge the pedagogies that I do draw on in terms of the theory and how my units are designed. Importantly, I think that reflective practice, as in all work integrated learning, is really important, and moving towards that transformative or transformational learning. And that's really what we try to achieve in stretching students in the work integrated learning projects that we do. I'm going to give you three, as I said, snapshots of what I've called practice. So these are kind of the quick case studies of what I've been doing for a number of years. So we've run a postgraduate consulting project for about the past 5 years with some key industry partners. So some of you will have seen me present on this before. It was part of a project through ACEN and the ATN network. The partners that we've worked with are Q Super, so a large superannuation firm, RACQ, which is our automobile club in Queensland, but also has a bank attached to it. We have also worked with Flight Centre, with Bank of Queensland. So we have chosen large, locally based organisations, and student spending time on site has been really important. All of those organisations have innovation hubs and so on, so we've worked partly on campus, partly on site. Obviously with the COVID restrictions, that's changed a bit, so we're doing a lot more virtually, but we're relatively lucky, well, yeah, in Queensland, that the restrictions aren't as severe as what our friends in Victoria and New South Wales have at the moment. So we are still doing some on-site in the offices of those partners. Two important things from that: it's interdisciplinary teams of postgraduate business students. The industry partners present the big wicked problems that they are grappling with at the time. So an opportunity or a challenge that the business is looking at, and students work together to come back with some proposed solutions. An important part of it is it takes a coaching model. So each team has a coach within the organisation that mentors and coaches them through the process. Our Graduate School of Business has a focus on coaching and leadership, so we draw on some of the content from that, and the partners in industry can also transition into a graduate certificate in coaching and leadership. So they have a unit credited by being involved in this. So that's how we've kind of integrated that approach, which has been really well received by our industry partners. The second case study that I'll look at is the experiential learning projects. This came about because we had a lot of students involved in like many of you, innovation sprints, startup weekends, hackathons, different social enterprises, community engagement, and they were often looking for how they could connect that to their studies. Previously, I'd put them in a internship unit, which wasn't really a fit. So we designed these experiential learning project units 4 semesters ago now. So there's an undergraduate unit and a postgraduate unit. I've designed the learning and assessment that it obviously meets the academic requirements and the learning outcomes, but it's flexible enough that it can actually accommodate different types of experiences very effectively. So we have students doing a range of different things. A lot of students who are involved in our entrepreneurship space and have started their own businesses are using this unit. I draw really strongly on the EntreComp framework. So the entrepreneurial competencies framework that some of you will probably be familiar with out of the EU. And again, that is very rigorous but flexible enough that it can actually be applied to these range of different experiences that students are undertaking in the unit. The final project case study that I want to give you a snapshot of is what we've called a stacked internship. So like many of you, back in March this year, as we headed into week 3, I think it was, of semester, the restrictions around COVID came in. A lot of our students on the traditional internship placement had their internships either cancelled or certainly delayed, postponed, as businesses figured out what they were doing. Because most of the students in those units are close to graduation, we had to come up with a solution of how we could get the students to progress and complete effectively in this uncertain and unknown space. So it was a response to COVID. It's probably something that we've been thinking about as a different type of model for some time, but again, like everyone, in 2 weeks we kind of implemented an approach that we probably thought would take a year or more to implement. I've actually retained it because it got really positive feedback from the students. So we've got 6 categories of learning. So students can undertake online learning, virtual internships, professional development, so they can engage in a range of professional development events through our student clubs, through industry bodies and so on, and networking, which can include shorter placements. So this semester, a number of partners back on board, but saying, look, we're probably not in a position to host someone for a full semester, but we'd love to have a student for a week or for a shorter placement time. So we've been using that. A lot of students are developing their technical skills. So whether it's in Salesforce, Tableau, Google Garage, so those technical skills development that they can undertake and get certification for. And they're participating in industry competitions and community projects. So everything from L'Oreal Brandstorm, Microsoft Protégé. We've got a project with Westpac, an innovation challenge this semester that a number of students are participating in. I'd incorporated yarning circles into this unit a few semesters ago, and those have become a really important part of the students developing, I guess, that community of practice and using the principles of yarning circles to talk about their learning, their challenges, compare with other students. So those are, again, originally they were face-to-face, but we've moved the yarning circles online and they're facilitated through breakout rooms similar to what we'll do later today. So those are the 3 examples: the consulting project, the experiential learning, and then the stacked internship. There's other ones that I also run, but those are probably the 3 that I thought would be useful to talk about today. So some of the platforms that we use, Blackboard is our learning management system. Like everyone, we're using Zoom a lot and recording in Echo 360. So I do a lot of pre-recorded content, and the Zoom sessions are very much active learning going into breakout rooms. I use Padlet a lot. In Place is our work integrated learning management system, and that's great in terms of setting up teams and projects that they're linked to and so on. We've also been working with Practira with some nano and micro projects, and also Inside Sherpa that some of you will be familiar with, the virtual internships that students can access. So those are some of the platforms that are linked. Okay, some pointers, and I've got about 15 seconds left. These are the tips that I really wanted to flag with you and then hopefully share in the breakout room some of the things that you guys are doing. I use a design thinking process for learning design. So way back when we were initially building these units, we've always had stakeholders involved. So students feeding into the design process, industry partners feeding into the design process, prototyping and testing before we launch the unit. But that's a fairly, it's not a lengthy process, but we do purposefully look at that design thinking process in our learning design. When I was chatting to Bonnie, one of the things that I've found anecdotally is it takes about 3 semesters, so that iteration, to get everything right. So that's really important. That the first delivery was fine, but there were lots of things that we tweaked and adjusted. So I use the rule of 3 as that's the time that it'll take to get the delivery right. It's really important to build social capital across the learning community. This is the stuff around trust and transparency. I spend a lot of time, whether it's face-to-face or now on Zoom, actually building those networks and students being really comfortable with one another and comfortable with me and the other facilitators in terms of projects and approaches that are more ambiguous and uncertain than other units that they may have done. Similarly with industry partners, having that level of trust and transparency and being able to have a discussion saying, hey, this isn't quite working how we planned, we need to tweak this, and having that type of relationship is so important. Getting support at senior level, both within my faculty and also with the industry partners. So we build a relationship with the most senior levels. So those examples that I talked about in the consulting projects are all endorsed by CEO level or managing director level. That means that things can happen. I found if we don't get that support at a senior level, sometimes things are not prioritised. And getting lots of feedback. So thinking about where you're getting feedback from students, the teaching team, the industry partners, and really having a process for how you take on that feedback. And just like the students, the reflective practice is so important. So I'm very purposeful in reflecting on what's working, reflecting on and in, and reflecting forward. There we go. 1.5 minutes over, Bonnie.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. Thank you so much for that overview and for sharing some of your tips as well. That's really appreciated. Everybody, taking on what Ingrid has just shared with us, I really like the idea of it takes 3 times to really get it right. I think that also reflects the process of iterative reflection and improvement. So thank you for sharing that with us. We're now going to move into our breakout rooms, and we'll have about 20 or so minutes in those breakout rooms. I'll send you a little 5-minute reminder. Now, these are discipline groups, and so in just a moment, you'll see an invitation come up on your screen to enter one of those breakout rooms. Enjoy the conversations in there, and I will see you back here soon. Of course, if you've got any troubles, you can leave the breakout room. I'll stay in the main room. You can come and have a chat with me and see if I can help you out. All right, that should be up on your screen now. Please enjoy the conversation, and I will see you back here in about 20 or so minutes. What I'd really like to do now is just shift gears a little bit, but still stay within the realm of project-based WIL. We have 2 key resources that you may or may not be aware of, and so I'd love to utilise this time to share with you these awesome resources and hope that they will be valuable for your practice as well. So the first resource is called Guide for Online WIL Placements and Projects, and I'd like to invite Frederica Cater from Deakin University just to offer a bit of an overview of this resource and how we might be able to use this resource as well. Frederica.
Great, thanks very much, Bonnie. And I noticed one of our other research team members, Leonie Russell, is here. So some of you might already know that a group of us from Deakin, RMIT and the University of Tasmania were working on an ACEN funded project starting last June on online WIL placements and projects. And of course, none of us anticipated COVID. So suddenly it became a lot more real for a lot more people. I mean, previously, a number of practitioners and universities had already been offering online placements and projects, but now it seemed that this was now the new modus operandi for everyone. And so we put together, very quickly, we put together an interim guide because we had a lot of responses from people saying we need something right now. And so we've put together an interim guide, you know, mostly geared at the practitioner who's new to online WIL. So it covers, you know, a whole gamut of things, really serving as, you know, things to consider when you're offering this. And the main considerations are sort of Teresa's group already discussed it. And it's, you know, what's the value proposition of online WIL for the students and organisations? You know, it isn't the same as face-to-face. It will never be the same as face-to-face. It's different, but it can be equally productive and enriching and rewarding, just as how we've been working for the last 5 months. It's not the same as going into the office and meeting with our colleagues. However, we're getting the work done, new creative processes and ideas and, you know, products are emerging. And so that's what we're offering the students. And then the second consideration is deciding whether, and this is decided, you know, with the host organisation, is whether it's going to be a placement or a project. What type of online WIL are you offering? And, you know, and you might negotiate this with existing partners, industry or community partners, or this might be an opportunity to reach out to new partners. I mean, you know, there's a lot of businesses who are having to, I will not use the word pivot, but who will have to change, you know, a lot of their business operations and could use students, you know, working on projects and placements to help them do some of that. Fundamental to everything we offer students at university is good learning and teaching design. So, you know, ensuring that there's constructive alignment between the learning outcomes and the assessments and the learning activities, you know, the fundamentals are critical. And someone mentioned in another group, you know, preparation of students. Well, that's part of the whole package as well. On the learning and teaching side, one of the things that differentiates WIL from other units is the workplace experience. And so the assessment should really address that. You know, it should capture in some way or other the student's experience in the workplace. And I might draw you to another resource there. It's on the ACEN website. It's a resource on WIL assessment, just released in the last week by Rola Ajawi and others. It's an excellent resource. Relationships and connection have taken on a much, you know, greater meaning. Often students feel isolated even when they had face-to-face WIL placements. You know, they're often isolated depending on the organisation they were working for. You know, they might or might not have a lot of contact with other people. And so setting up formal and informal avenues for students who are on placements and projects to connect with each other who are on different placements and projects. So setting up a sort of community of practice among among those students, and also with the educator. So, and this is what's become more and more important for students to have a sense of belonging and connectedness.
Yeah, thank you,
Then
Frederica. Oh, sorry.
Yep. The two final points are just working safely from home, you know, getting students to treat it from the job as a job, not to have their pets and eating and, you know, doing all the things that, you know, they might get up to. So working safely and professionally from home. And then the final thing is cyber security. And I think we've all been, you know, we're fully aware of the sort of the gravity of this. You know, it's partially been in our mind, but, you know, with all the things happening globally, it's something that we need to impress upon students for the organisation, because they're now working. They're a, you know, a sort of employee in a way, and also for their own professional development. So you'll find more details on that in the guide.
Thank you.
But could I ask two things? If you have any feedback, we would love to receive it. This is an interim guide, which we got out very quickly. And secondly, we're still conducting our research. And so if you have the time to take our survey, that would be fabulous. And I've put the links in the chat room.
Thank you so much, Frederica, for that overview. So guys, this resource is on the ACEN website, and we've got the links in the chat as well, but I'll make sure that when you get this recording, you'll also get the breakout room summary notes, and you'll also get the links to this resource, and you'll also get the links to our second resource, which I'd love to share with you as well now. This takes a bit more of a focus on interdisciplinary project-based WIL, and I'd like to invite Julia Alessandri from RMIT to give us a bit of an overview of this next guide. It's called the Good Practice Guide on Interdisciplinary Project-Based WIL. Julia, are you there, and can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me, Bonnie?
We can hear you perfectly. I'm going to share my screen, Julia, just so we can have a look at what the guide looks like as well.
Oh, you're sharing. Okay, all right. I'll wait for everyone to have a look at that. And Bonnie, you're going to put the link in the chat, aren't you?
I certainly will.
Yeah. Okay, so hello everyone. I do see that Leonie, Russell and Sonia Ferns are actually here in this presentation today, so it may be that either of you want to jump in on this at some stage. Oh, I actually have no control, sorry. No, I'll just have to talk to it. So this project is an ACEN funded project. It is on interdisciplinary project-based WIL. The team is a multi-university team across states. So we have Margot Brewer, who heads up this team. We've got Sonia Ferns from Curtin, as well as Margot, who's from Curtin, Sally Lewis from University of South Australia, Leonie Russell from RMIT, and Jerry Childers. My capacity in this team is a research assistant, and there are other research assistants and project managers in the team too. It's a big project. So basically the focus,
sorry, there we go, try again. Okay.
The focus of this really is looking at the shifting focus of HE from discipline-specific knowledge and skills towards employability skills for the 21st century workplace. So this website that we're sharing with you is one of the outputs of the project. Oh, are we looking at the... You
want to look at the website, that one there?
Yes, please.
Yes. Would you like this one, Julia,
Sorry.
or would you like the document?
Can I share my own screen?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
go for it.
Yeah, if that's okay, thank you.
Yep, go for it.
Okay, hopefully everyone can see that. Right, so this is one of the outputs of the project. So it's a multi-sector projects website. It's got lots of information on here for you, including our deliverables, the purpose, the teams, and so on. If you have a look in the program sections of this website, you can go particularly and straight away to the Good Practice Guide. This Good Practice Guide is a really fantastic document. If we just open it up very quickly, this is what Bonnie was showing you before. It's got a lot of information here on all the stages that you need to go through when you're designing good practice in interdisciplinary project-based learning. So we're looking at what we even mean by that, leading those sorts of projects, designing them, some of the challenges and enablers, and evaluating those projects too. It's a very well researched and investigated product here, so you can get a lot of detail about the sorts of things that you would be interested in if you wanted to set up a project-based interdisciplinary workplace learning. This little graphic here shows you the space that we're actually looking at. So of these 3 areas of learning, it's this space in the middle that we're particularly focused on. And one of the reasons for that is because it's just such a rich arena in which to put students for a WIL experience. And it certainly feeds into that idea of employability skills for the 21st century workplace. So you can download that from the website, which again is here. But on the website, you can also have a look at the journal papers, the workshops, and pilot studies, which will give you a lot of information about how to run interdisciplinary project-based WIL as well. And I think that's me done.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. It's such a pleasure to see you. I would love to see you at the virtual summit in October. So, you know, make sure you register, go to the website and register for the virtual summit. There's some networking sessions so we can continue the conversations there as well. But there's some awesome presentations and I can't wait to listen to those as well. Thank you very much, everybody. And just a shout out to those who are in Victoria at the moment, to our beautiful WIL colleagues who are really doing it tough. You know, our hearts are with you. And if there's anything we can do to support you as well along the way, can you please let us know? That would be awesome. Okay, take care, everybody. Have a happy Friday.